the motion.
I'll second that.
Today is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. This meeting is being video and audio recorded for future cable broadcast. Please silence all cell phones for the duration of the meeting. Will you do a roll call?
Mr. Hood,
Yes.
Mr. Howcroft,
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero.
Yes.
The next item is the consent agenda. Everything listed in the consent agenda was distributed in advance of the meeting. Does anyone have any requests to remove anything from the consent agenda and have it voted on separately? Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of 8/13/2024 and all payroll and warrants?
So.
Second.
Do we need a roll call?
Mr. Hood,
Yes.
Mr. Howcroft,
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero.
Yes.
Anyone sign up for delegation?
No delegation.
So, go ahead. Oh, Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, we're ready for that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. So I see no old business, Paula. I think the next item is new business and the superintendent report.
So the first thing I have is just a review of the goals. They're 2-year goals. They started last year. And you will see in your packet that anything that I highlighted in yellow has been updated, because this is always a working document. Most notable would be the dyslexia team that we started in the summertime, and the responsive classroom that we've added over at AES that has started the PD for this school year. And as you know, when we started these goals, we didn't have board docs at the time, so we sort of started on this document, but now everything is on board docs. But it's just, a little update so that you can see we're continuing the work. Does anybody have any questions?
And Paula, just to be, or Dr. Miller, just to be clear, this was the first review. Is the intention that we would come back to vote on this at the next meeting?
No, because we voted on 2-year goals last year, so this is just a review. However, if anybody has any concerns or wants, to make some edits or suggestions, I'm definitely open to that, because as always, it's a working document.
And if I'm remembering correctly, we also did establish last year a subcommittee that is responsible for reviewing superintendent goals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my suggestion would be that we back committee review it, and if there are any edits or whatever, we can have them bring it back to the committee with a recommendation.
Okay. Next, I'd like to call our curriculum director, Mr. Jerry, and the principals, Mrs. Chesney and Mrs. Sylvia, to the podium. I'd like them to review with you our responsive classroom strategies in both buildings, and that's part of the SEL strategy that we're implementing in the district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the school committee. I'm joined tonight by Mrs. Leah Chesney, the Acushnet Elementary School Principal, and Mrs. Michelle Sylvia, the Ford Middle School Principal. And we're going to share a little bit about the responsive classroom training that's been happening across the district. So what is responsive classroom? There's really 4 key domains to the responsive classroom. It's engaging academics, having a positive school community, effective management, and developing awareness in students. And it helps educators create safe, joyful, and encouraging classrooms, and it builds school communities where students can develop strong academic and social emotional skills. And this is an evidence-based approach to teaching and discipline. So why responsive classroom? There were some student and feedback surveys that kind of revealed a need for this based on sense of belonging surveys, focus group meetings, and teacher surveys. And there was also a level of behavioral conduct that we thought we would like to help reduce at the classroom level. And I don't believe it's on here, but also just trying to get students more engaged with the school community and help with the chronic absenteeism and that general sense of belonging. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to Mrs. Sylvia because the Ford Middle School actually started responsive classroom last year, you may recall. So she'll kind of give an update on what Ford Middle School is doing, and then we'll hear about AES.
Good evening. So we did have the 4-day training last year throughout the year. We did it on the full PD days. All staff participated, teachers, paras, special educators, counselors. So now, like we did last year, advisory begins the day. They come in, get their breakfast, they go to advisory. And it's throughout the building. The specialists, the special educators, the paras, the counselors, all staff are included in the morning advisory. And like I had said in the past, I made those advisories pretty much random to encourage the school community, the sense that everyone here at Ford Middle School belongs. Sorry, did I do that?
No,
Oh,
no, just one.
okay, good.
I just didn't know if you wanted to show the pictures that went along with what you were saying.
Okay, so in our responsive classroom training this year, we've done a 1-day training so far, and it was improving student and staff communication. Listening skills, arguing, disagreeing, how do we teach the students to listen, calm body, focus, key details, face the speaker, nod that you are listening, repeat back some of that information that you heard to them. And you can agree and disagree with decorum. And it's okay to agree and disagree, because when you agree and disagree, you learn new things. You may even change your mind based on somebody else's facts that they're sharing. And that's what, learning is about. I am.
Okay, so the elementary school, as Mr. Gary mentioned, is taking part in 4 full days of training. We've already had 2. I think they were very successful. It was really wonderful to hear all the laughter and see the engagement of the teachers as we started to kind of go on this journey. What we have been really focusing on, and we've already started to see, is the implementation of morning meeting every morning across all of the homerooms, as well as ways that other teachers are able to bring in some of the energizers, the activators, things to make sure that students are engaged in their classroom across the day. So we have a couple of pictures to show that. That's a picture of our training. And that's another example of one of the learning structures where teachers are encouraged to collaborate in its modeling so that they can then do that type of learning with their students. A lot of it already goes on in the classroom, but it's a bit of taking it to the next level. And I had told teachers when we introduced this was a training that I went through many years ago, maybe too many years ago to even mention, but it really revolutionized my own teaching and in some ways my own parenting, the way that I talk to my kids. So it really does work. We start off with the hopes and dreams, which is a little bit different from what they do in advisory. And students now, if people go to open house, they're going to see hopes and dreams posted outside certain classrooms as the students figure out what is it that they want to do throughout the year. And then the teachers have been working on making rules that enable those hopes and dreams to come to fruition by the end of the year. And I think those are more middle school teachers in the training, yeah? And that's just an example of the morning meeting activities that teachers have already started to do. We have a couple pictures there. Just one more thing. Yeah.
Some more training, the FMS staff in the training. Oh, there's the student who was in the lead of the advisory today or yesterday doing the slides, talking about the announcements, giving the shout outs, the attendance prize. No, the smiles.
And I just posted here on the last slide that the responsive classroom work that we're doing aligns to the district strategy as far as creating thriving social emotional experiences for all students and achieving academic excellence for all students.
Questions?
That's great.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Moving on, this is just a quick informational report, the overview of class sizes. You'll see the attachment. There's a page for AES as well as a page for FMS. But basically, you have the number of students at the elementary and then the average number of students at all of the sections for the middle school. So as you can see, they're really not bad at all. In both buildings. I just thought it was a visual that you might want to see.
Dr. Bailey, is there a benchmark or a standard?
The contract says that we should strive to stay under 25.
How does that, is there like an industry standard, best practice in terms of what that ratio should look like?
Yeah, I would say that we're actually looking pretty good. I mean, a lot of our classes are 18, 13, 16. Well, some of the lower ones are some of our self-contained special ed classes. 19, 20, 19, 16, 22, 23, 24 is our highest one at the elementary school, and then it goes down from there.
Are you seeing any trends, for future planning? Or we're pretty stable as far as population from one year to another?
I mean, the trends right now is there's lower enrollment across the state, but we're seeing more or less stable in Acushnet at this point in time.
Right, okay.
Any other questions? So the next thing I have is the second read, and I would be asking for a vote on those two policies from the last meeting. The first one is the substitute teachers, and the second one, which is GCG, and the second one is JF school admissions. So you would have had an opportunity over the last month to have the second read. The first policy, we talked about removing after 20 consecutive days and replacing it with language that aligns with DESE, which is more like 30 days, and special ed is 90 days. And then for school admissions, we have the new language that's outlined for you. One of the things that the committee added was that parent guardian requests for specific teachers are not accepted or considered. But that's about it. So tonight's the second read, and then I would be asking for a motion to accept those so that we can update those policies.
Any
I'm going to
questions?
make that motion. We accept the policies as outlined by the superintendent.
I'll second.
Do we need a roll call?
Mr. Hood?
Yes.
Mr. Howcroft?
Yes.
Ms. Cadella?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have our annual personnel exit report that the committee had wanted last year, so I just started doing this, and we started putting the codes down that align with our Aspen system. So you'll see a list of positions of people who have left the district, whether it's, retirement, resignation, or non-renewal, and what the reason is next to that. And again, those codes align with our Aspen system, and that's what we have to put in. So we're just keeping up on that so that, this was something that interested the committee last year. So I figured we could do it at the beginning of every school year once things settle down with the changes in staffing.
Yeah, rather leave it like that.
We have a number of people on that list that left the field.
And Paula, Dr. Bailey, when you, in the comments, I'm assuming that captures most of what some of those conversations would be. Just looking at this, I think to Mr. Howcroft's point, it's hard to glean any trends, but are there anything else that you hear in these exit interviews that you think the committee should be aware of?
No, actually, the majority, I do all exit interviews unless somebody resigns and doesn't come back for the exit interview. We had, as you can see, a couple of people did not have the exit interview, but the majority did. The majority have very positive comments about their service in Acushnet and their time here, but some of them have life circumstances, that they need to tend to. Some of them have left the field, and let's see, we had one that the grant was eliminated. Yeah, I'm not seeing overall any trends that you wouldn't normally see in public schools. As a matter of fact, we have to do a report every year for DESE, the school districts, and we have to talk about open positions. And I know across the state right now, a lot of districts are really struggling with open positions, and we're very fortunate that we have all of our positions filled, I think except for one para at this point in time, and a nurse, but that is all pending right now. So it looks as though we will be completely full, hired over the next couple of weeks. So we're in actually very good shape. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Next, I have calling Mr. Missler to the podium to give us an update on his department.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, school committee members. Some good things to report. Start of the year's gone really well. I've got a lot of new procedures in place that have made the year a bit smoother to start, for sure. And I want to thank all the staff and administration for that, for their hard work, and special thanks to the tech team. Chromebook insurance. Our numbers are still coming in. However, the early data shows that more parents have bought insurance this year than last. And the date is still open. The deadline is open until October 1st. So anybody listening, please jump on that insurance and definitely save you. For security, we rolled out two-step authentication for all staff and teachers. This essentially just provides a much higher level of security, reduces the risk of phishing. And anybody listening to this, even at home, I highly recommend, it's even in our newsletters, to pretty much enable two-factor or multi-factor authentication on any app that offers it, banking, social media, etc. It'll seriously help you out. We continue to work on safety and security initiatives in the district. And then I want to say thank you because this was kind of a cool start of the school year, kind of behind the scenes thing. We had a keynote speaker, Carrie Stark. She kind of knocked it out of the park. She said it's a good day to have a good day. And she mentioned how hard it is to adapt and learn and grow when you're having a negative mindset. And that we have the direct ability to impact our students' positivity. So I just want to say I know a lot of hard work goes on behind the scenes. And I want to take a second to say thank you to everybody. And a special thank you to Dr. Bailey for that. Thank you. Any questions for me? Thanks, guys.
I don't have anything else. I do know that the business manager is at the Board of Selectmen right now. That's where I was, giving a report. So hopefully he'll be back. I don't know how you want to do this, if we want to just skip over his section and come back to it. Hopefully he'll be here for that. I know he's planning on being back for that.
Are you suggesting we would go to exec session and perhaps come back?
Or if there's verbal reports, or we can go over the communication and information first.
Any verbal reports from any members? No? Communication information, we have the district newsletter, right? AES newsletter, FMS newsletter, personnel report, other newsletters. So Paula, perhaps maybe it makes sense then to move into exec session, and if Patrick comes back, then we'll come back.
Yeah, that would be fine.
So could I have a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purpose to discuss the deployment of security personnel or devices or strategies with respect to safety and security of staff and students? and with the intent to return to open session when the business manager.
So move.
Second.
Do we need a roll call? Hurry up before I choke.
Mr. Hood,
Yes.
Mr. Howcroft,
Yes.
Ms. Cordero.
Yes.
Open meeting.
I'll so move on.
Second.
Should we take a roll call?
Yes.
Mr. Hood,
Yes.
Mrs. Gomes.
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero,
Yes.
Mr. Howcroft.
Yes.
So Dr. Bailey, we.
Yeah, so it should be noted that Mrs. Gomes entered the meeting during the executive session as she was at the Board of Selectmen meeting. And I think what we want to do now is go back on the agenda because business manager was also at that same meeting and he is now back with us. So we can go back to section 6 of the agenda, the business manager's report.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairperson Hood, school committee members. Thank you for your time. I'm going to pass through this quickly, but stop me if you have any questions. Budget to actual for fiscal 25. We're here in we're in our third month. I'm reporting on our second month of August. Everything's on track. So far, so good. We have expenses flowing, we have encumbrances flowing, and we have no surprises yet. We have some personnel matters that are leaning us heavy towards substitutes early in the year that, you know, we can deal with now. There are no changes due to that, but it is unique so early in the year. You know, we're paying salaries, but we're also paying the substitutes, so we're keeping a close eye on that. Otherwise, budget questions, anything? No, all right. Facilities, we continue to push forward with our investment grade audit through our energy management services. We presented earlier tonight at the Board of Select meeting on this topic as it relates to the two articles that we're pushing for town meeting for September 30th. To be continued, I guess, on that matter, and we'll provide an update one way or the other, whether it's at the next school committee meeting or through communications otherwise. Custodial services, so we were able to contract night cleaning services at the 11th hour before school started. They were here for the first day of students in the building, so that worked out well. They were a little more expensive than we hoped for, but they're covering all the services that our night custodians previously covered with some moving and shaking, if you will. We've given them a little more to alleviate the day custodians of certain tasks, but now the day custodians are responsible to take on some of those night tasks, all well within job descriptions, and so far it seems to be working out well. Questions on the custodian contract? Food services, so good news in the food services department. We've been vacant at our cook manager position at AES since last winter, really. Shelley Miller, food service director, has been great holding down the fort, you know, wearing multiple hats, but we've finally brought in a full-time individual to fill that role, again, right in time for the school year. This individual previously worked in our kitchen, so she has experience here, and so far, you know, the feedback's been positive and she's doing great, so we're excited to have her and see, you know, now that we have all the pieces in play, what sort of changes and progress we can make in the food service department, or just continuing the current good that we're doing. Transportation, so last meeting we talked about registrations were down. Well, as predicted, they were up, you know, the last week leading up to school, and, you know, we did our best. Shout out again to Bonnie Grace, the central administrative assistant, who's really handling mostly all of the transportation at this point. And she's done her best to make sure we can get all these students on the buses as soon as possible, as well as address parents and family safety concerns about stops, routes, things like that. Again, it's not perfect with the inflow all at the beginning of the year like that, but I think we've done a pretty good job, and I appreciate families' patience that are impacted by that we can't guarantee a spot on the bus immediately due to the late registration, but we are continuing to work with them so that we can get students in seats here. Unfortunately, on Wednesday, August 28th, we had a minor bus accident on Lake Street. The bus was exiting the Lake Street parking lot and sideswiped the guardrail. We sent out communications regarding this. You know, obviously we don't plan for these types of things, but we did have a plan. And I commend, the first responders, being the police department, EMS and fire, as well as Superintendent Bailey, who all, made it to the scene, helped, calm down the families, the students on the buses. All the families cooperated by picking up their students from the scene and driving them home. There were no injuries reported. Truly everyone had a hand in it. We were sending out one calls trying to keep everyone updated. The FMS principal, it was an FMS bus, the FMS principal got on the phone and called directly all the families that had students on the bus that were impacted. I think we did the best that we could, and again, thank you to everybody. Fortunately, we were able to report that everyone was safe. So, and then other matters, town updates. Fall special town meeting is scheduled Monday, September 30th. Right now we have 4 articles on the draft warrant, and 2 of them should have been on the spring town meeting, but they're now on the fall town meeting. One's a transportation contract with auctioneers. The other is using special ed stabilization fund to help balance our budget. Those should be shoo-ins, and then we have 2 related to the train energy management services that we discussed that are still in limbo. So we would appreciate everyone's support at the town meeting on September 30th. Questions on the business manager's report?
Maybe with the budget transfers.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know you needed to introduce it or not. So next on the docket is the Q1 budget transfers. So per school committee policy DBK, quarterly, I need to report to you on the budget and if any transfers are required. Q1 is passed. July, August, September. It would be next month. So here we go. Anyway, right now, as of now, we don't have any Q1 transfers, so that's good news. That means everything in the budget is within the categories that we call major accounts, and we're on track for spending. So I'll report next month on an update on that when I get my quarters right. Any questions on that? No. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I just want to say one thing. Thank you so much, Mr. McIntyre, for all your hard work and everything that you do here. We know it's very stressful, and we know that we're all learning protocols from the town, which can be sometimes daunting to all of us. But again, a big thank you to you and all the work that you've done, as well as Dr. Bailey. But really, you held your cool today at that meeting, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Gomes. I would echo that. I had the honor of participating in some discussions with Patrick and some of the selectmen last week on some of these projects, and so thank you for all you're doing to try to move those along for the district. That being said, can I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Hood?
Yes.
Mrs. Gomes?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Howcroft?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.